that was one of the things. Well, I'm not going to put you on the spot to come up with the numbers, but so the question that I have that we've had from some different clients. So we had a young couple that was purchasing a house together, and we were having the conversation. They were asking me, is it better for us to both go onto the mortgage, or should we do it individually? What's the benefit? So my answer to them, and you tell me if I was right and wrong, and then you can kind of give us more expansion on it. The benefits to purchasing a home separately would be like if you have a plan of investing. Isn't there a limit to how many traditional and conventional mortgages you can have at one time, like 6 or 7, something like that?
10.
10. Okay. So if
10 financed properties.
Okay. So if you buy 10 properties as a married couple, then you can only buy 10 properties. But if you buy 10 properties as husband, you can buy 10 more as wife. You can use traditional financing for 20 properties. So that's one point of leverage. The other one would be where you're actually keeping your credit separate, so that
you're talking too much and you should
Nope.
let
He's answering his own question. That's awesome. I like it.
I know, like,
Oh, right.
stop and let her tell you if you're right or wrong. And
Okay.
then
Okay, go.
No, go ahead. I like it. And then maybe I'll just add something to that. I like it.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Go.
Yes. So is he right on that? Like, does it offer more leverage to only put one spouse on a mortgage?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So because just for those reasons that you described, and also let's say it's a young couple and they buy in as their first-time home buyer, and one person is on a mortgage and on a title, and then spouse they want to buy something else in the future as a primary resident. So they could buy under another spouse, being a first-time home buyer.
So get 2 first-time home buyer benefits.
Exactly. Okay. And the first-time home buyer benefits could be potentially a special program with 0 money down payment, depending on a state and county, but also typically first-time buyers get better interest rate. There's some positive adjuster to interest rates when you are a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
There's some income limits with that, but in general, that could be beneficial. And exactly to your point, if they are future investors and they know they want to buy more properties, 10 properties in financed properties is the limit per person. And if they really want to expand their portfolio, each buys separately, that also would make it twice many properties per couple.
Are they allowed to have one spouse on the mortgage but both on title?
You can do that as well. However, if another person is on the title but not on the mortgage, that person is not a first-time home buyer anymore.
So for the first 2 transactions, you wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So because if you add in a spouse that you want to buy something later as a first-time home buyer, but they're already on the title. So I think there's misunderstanding on who is considered first-time home buyer. Right. I think people think that if I'm not on the mortgage, I'm a first-time home buyer. But if you're on the title, you already own a home, so you're not a first-time home buyer, even though you're not on a mortgage.
Yeah,
it's more like a first-time home owner program and not a first-time home buyer, right? It has more to do with, hey, you got a home, than it does, hey, your credit is attached to a home.
You got a mortgage. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
that's a good point.
An important thing to say here is that if somebody's considering this strategy, especially as first-time home buyers, they need to speak with a lender like yourself, but then also with the title company, because the tenancy, the ownership of the property is important, for asset protection. Should somebody pass away, how does the transfer of the property happen? So they just need to make sure they understand all of the ins and outs of that versus, just the financing aspect.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. I like the idea of having those, especially if you're an investor looking to build a portfolio. When you can get into properties with as little money down and as little expense as possible, that gets your return on any money invested. So it's a good strategy for the first 2, as long as they understand the tenancy effects of that.
Right.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah.
To build on the whole, both spouses want to take advantage of the first time home buyer programs and benefits. Is there a time limit on, like, let's say Sean does a first time home buyer thing and he's the only one on the mortgage and title. And then I get another house and I'm the only first time home buyer. I'm the only one on the mortgage and title. Is there a time limit, or if at all, can we add each other to our titles?
Well, so it actually, it all depends on that second property. What is the use of it going to be? So
Right.
if it's going to be your primary residence, you are buying primary residence with intent to occupy it for at least 1 year.
Okay.
So if they thinking that Sean is buying primary right now, and then you, Kelly, want to buy another investment property under, then it doesn't matter if you're first time home buyer or not.
Right.
Right.
That only the first time home buyer benefit applies only if you're buying another primary. So it could good example could be for that new married couple, right? So they got primary home right now. They got a baby, twins, triplets, I don't know. So they move out of the property in 1 year or more, and then they want to buy something else bigger, another primary residence, and then that could be under a wife's name or husband, whoever is first time home buyer, and at that point we could add another spouse to the title as well, because at that point that person already is not a first time home buyer.
Right. Okay, they do have to be and this comes up. I mean, it does, people asking, well, we'll just tell them that we're separating, like them being the mortgage company, and that's the big MF, right? That's mortgage fraud, right?
It is a mortgage fraud. I would never advise anything like that.
No.
You never want to do that.
Okay,
They
well,
can
I have
pull
a
your
question.
loan, they can do all kinds of
do
things. So yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
That's why they need to talk to somebody.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question, and I'm glad you shut me up because I'm glad we're deep diving into this. So
I delicately shushed you.
you have you have that first time home buying couple. He buys the house in his name. They find out they're pregnant. They find out they're having triplets, same scenario, and they bought a 1-bedroom condo. And so in 9 months, they're going to have 5 people living in this 1-bedroom condo. Their life situation could seriously warrant, even though their intention was to live there for a year, they have a significant life situation where they would need to possibly move out sooner.
I guess the question is, could they get an exception?
But yeah, would they still,
On that 1
would they
year?
be able for her, because they want to move, they want to have a new primary residence, they want to get out of this house. Can she go and do the first time home buyer? He's the one that committed to a year over here, but he's kind of wanting to get, how does that play out? Is it intent? Is it?
Yeah, so there's intent. It's intent, but there's always circumstance, right?
Okay.
And that's what the bank could potentially ask: why are you moving? Why are you buying another primary residence? And it's been less than 1 year. This is very legitimate explanation. So of course they would have to explain and get exception for that, but in my opinion, I don't want to be stuck in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people. So it's logical that people want to move.
Okay.
But also remember that she is not a homeowner.
Right. Yeah. I say it's just making sure there's no fraud in that transfer. And then of course, after they bought the second house, the year happened, she could add him to the title. And then theoretically, after they did that, they could add her to the title over here, and then they could both be on titles.
They've gotten both benefits. Both of them have gotten their first time.
And then if they add each other to those titles, they still have the 10 mortgages each, because that's title, that's not mortgages.
Right.
Even
exactly, because we're talking about financed properties.
They're still under financing, but they're financed under the individual.
Separately,
Okay. I had this conversation with these first time home buyers, and I was explaining this to them that, there's a credit protection there that could happen as well. And so I'm curious, is that something that you've seen, or a strategy you've seen used to kind of keep that wall between the two credit worlds?
Well, definitely the credit will not be affected of the one who is not on a mortgage that is
Right.
being foreclosed on. In regards to the any other implications, if that person is on the title, that's more like a title company, settlement attorney's question, because they would need to find out, even if you're not on the mortgage, but you're on the title, you sign certain documents at the
Okay.
settlement, and that's in regards to foreclosure procedures. They're gonna be signing deed of trust document that talks about the foreclosure
Okay.
and possibility of it. So that question is more to the title attorney.
Okay.
But in regards to the credit being affected, definitely if they are not on a mortgage and the mortgage is late, that person is not going to get affected.
Okay, so it's separated. Okay.
Well,
Say
I have a hypothetical, so that's all great, but it doesn't always work, just because sometimes one person's income is simply not enough.
Yeah.
And if that's the situation, you have to have two people on the mortgage. That makes
Yeah.
So I have one other question, scenario, getting back to this. How significant of a difference would you say the credit score would have to be? So if like the husband has a really good credit score and they're planning on buying the house in his name, and then they find out his income isn't enough, so they have to use his wife. What difference, like in their credit scores, would be detrimental? Like if he's got a 760 and she's got, let's say, a 640, is that going to really hurt the mortgage, or does that? How significant does that difference
I
have
guess
to be?
you asked like a breaking point.
Yeah, what's the kind of a breaking point for that?
Yeah, so we're gonna use the lowest of two credit scores.
Oh wow, okay.
So it all depends on how much down payment they're making. It could negatively affect the qualification and the terms if he has 740 and she has 640. I noticed that if they put a lot of money down, like let's say 50%,
Yeah,
it doesn't really make too much difference at that point, because it's just
Okay.
huge down payment.
Yeah.
But lower down payment, the significance of that could be huge, especially if they put less than 20% down, because remember there's going to be a mortgage insurance,
Right,
and
right.
that amount could increase on conventional loan, would increase with the lower credit score.
Right.
So you're saying that 740 and a 640, it's not like they kind of average
It's
it out.
not
You're saying it's just now it's 640 for both of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Correct.
Like the
Okay.
application is
At the lowest.
At the lowest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, we pull credit, we pull trimers, so if each person gets 3 scores from Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, but then we'll look at the middle score of each, and middle is not average. So let's say he has 760, 740, and 720, so 740 is his middle, and she has 660, 640, and 620, so 640 is her middle. It's lower than his middle, so we're using hers.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes it a lot clearer.
I think I've told you that like 50,000 times, but maybe with a beautiful accent, hearing it, it'll sink in.
Okay. All right. All right. Do you have any other
I
questions?
have nothing.
Tatiana, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. I just want to wish those who celebrate Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah, and
Yes.
For that.
we'll talk next week.
Sounds good. All right. Have a great week.
You too.
All
All right.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.